Hi. In Warhammer 40,000, the Land Raider is pretty much the classic Space Marine tank, and this kit is amongst the oldest of the kits that Games Workshop still produces. It goes back to the days of 3rd edition, but it isn't the first representation of the Land Raider in the game, because prior to that, Games Workshop made this kit. This was released in the days of the original Rogue Trader rules, and it persisted until about midway through 2nd edition. It was abruptly deleted, and there was a bit of a gap between this kit being available and the replacement coming in. However, even this is not the earliest version of the Land Raider. The earliest version of the Land Raider is in fact contained in the pages of the original Rogue Trader rulebook, with this model here, armed with 2 single las cannons and also a bolter, although the bolter itself was never actually shown on the model presented. Now, there was no kit available for this, so if you wanted to add one to your army, you would have to scratch build it yourself or find something to stand in for it. When the kit was actually released and the rules were updated to match it, though, this version did not entirely disappear from the game, because this became the Hellfire Land Raider, and it's still featured in the army lists presented in Chapter Approved Book of the Astronomicon, the first supplement for Warhammer 40,000, so you could use the 2 vehicles in parallel. And in this video, I am going to attempt to recreate one of these Hellfire Land Raiders. In keeping with the process that I've followed for previous model making projects, I started out by sketching what I wanted, and you can see some detailed side and forward elevation drawings. It took a few attempts to get right, but once I figured out that the las cannon mounting here was probably made from a 25mm figure base, that gave me something to scale everything else from, and things just sort of fitted into place. Of course, on the forward elevation drawing, I only put the side detail on one side because it's just a mirror image. I didn't think I needed to add it to the other side as well. But then, with the 2 detailed sketches out of the way, I just did some very basic outlines of what the various plates that I'm going to make the model from would look like. And with those done, I was able to move on to something more 3-dimensional. Again, as in previous projects, I began with a cardboard prototype of the model, and this lets me see it in 3 dimensions without using up any valuable resources. And as with the sketches, only one side has the outer side section on. I didn't think I needed both, but this was good enough to give me an idea of what it was going to look like. And from there, I've moved on to the plasticard model, which, as you can see here, is far from complete. However, at this stage of construction, it does let me show you exactly what parts I've used for certain key elements of the model. You can see the figure bases that I've used for the las cannon mountings, along with some wire coming out to mount the actual cannon onto. And in addition to the plasticard of the hull of the vehicle, I have made the wheels from half-round sections of balsa wood down. On the original model, I suspect that the wheels were made using Citadel shields. Those types of shields, of course, will have gone out of production many years ago. Even if I could find them on eBay, they'd be very expensive. So I've improvised, and I have capped the wheels with copper washers, which are glued to thin sheets of plasticard. Then the larger wheels at the front and the back are made using more figure bases, and then when I get around to doing the tracks, they will simply be glued all around that vehicle. I haven't glued the side panels on yet because I want to put some details on the side of the vehicle that will then be visible through these holes, but I am now in a position to do all of the detailing. And here is the fully detailed model. And at this stage, these two side sections aren't permanently fixed on again. They're just sort of tacked on so that you can see roughly what the vehicle looks like. And you'll be able to see that most of the details I've added have been done using plasticard. Although I have used some bits of balsa wood dowel down here at the side. The las cannons are largely concentric sections of polystyrene tubing with a small bit of a pen lid in them. And also, actually, if I just remove one of these side plates, you'll see that for the details underneath, I've used some ribbon cable and another figure base. Now, I have used a bit of artistic license in a couple of places on this. Firstly, the bolter here at the front, with there not being a bolt gun actually fixed on the original Games Workshop model, I took it that the figure that was shown sticking out of the hatchway with a weapon was supposed to represent the bolter. So I fitted it in a pintle mount next to the hatch, and the bolt gun itself is from the RTB01 plastic set, which probably would have been the only plastic set for Warhammer 40,000 available at the time this model was being used. I've just modified that slightly by moving the pistol grip from about midway along to the very back. And also, all of the views given are sort of like that angle. So it doesn't give much information about what's towards the back here and absolutely nothing about the rear of the model. I could just about tell there were a couple of large panels on the roof at the back. And in this case, I've added hinges and handles so they look like additional hatchways. And then if I turn it round to the very back, I have placed an access hatch, which I have based the design of on the side hatches from the first Land Raider kit. And the reason I put that here is because there just doesn't seem to be a reasonable access point anywhere on the vehicle, considering it is supposed to carry troops. But with all of these details in place, all that's left for me to do now is to paint this. Here is the painted Hellfire Land Raider. It's painted up in the colour scheme of the Dark Angels Legion rather than the Dark Angels chapter. Since it is such an old model design, I decided I should go back to the original scheme that was used by the Dark Angels at the time this model would have been used. And you'll notice I've added an extra couple of details since the unpainted model was shown, just in the form of some basic exhaust pipes at the back, but otherwise it is completely unchanged. Now, comparing this finished model to the original source images, I think I have got some parts out of alignment here at the front to do with this forward wheel and some details either side. I think it's supposed to be an axle that really run all the way through, but other than that, I think I've done a pretty good job. I'm very happy with the way that this model has come out. And to end, what better to go with an early Rogue Trader vintage Land Raider than some early Rogue Trader vintage Space Marines. And I hope you've enjoyed taking a look at this sort of throwback model. And thanks for watching. Bye.